Are you wanting to have family meetings? Well, in this video, we're going to be talking about how to carry out a family meeting. I'm Nicholeen Peck. I teach parenting, communication, how to create united families all over the world. And in this video, we're going to help you have good family meetings. In this video, I'm going to share a personal story from my past when my parents attempted to have family meetings and they didn't work out. And then I'm going to share the success story of what I did with family meetings in my home to make them a success. When I was young, my parents said that we were going to start having something called family councils. This was a type of a family meeting where the family was supposed to get together and we were all supposed to discuss what was happening as a family. We were going to talk about problems. We were going to talk about fun things. Yeah, that didn't really ever happen. And it's not really my parents' fault. Like, they didn't know what they didn't know, but they knew they wanted to have the meeting, that it would be productive, that it would be a good thing. They had been told family meetings were healthy for families. And then what happened was the structure was not in place, and so they turned into family fights. Yeah, and I was the main culprit for why they turned into family fights, because here's the deal. They didn't have a structure. There was no time limit. These meetings could go on forever, and I promise you they did. There were some times where these meetings went on for hours. At least in my adolescent brain, I felt like they did. And so what would happen is Dad would start the meeting. He'd turn some time over to Mom. Mom would start talking about all the problems that she saw, and so then we would just feel like that we were being attacked, that we couldn't do anything right, that we weren't appreciated. So then I started rolling my eyes. I started pretending I was asleep, hitting my brother, trying to cause any kind of disturbance I could, because I didn't want to sit through this lecture session that was going to last for who knows how long. So then my parents would get short-tempered. My brothers would start doing some of my same behavior. They weren't productive. We didn't get anywhere. These family councils were supposed to unify our family, and if anything, they definitely divided us. And it really came down to the structure of the meeting. And there wasn't a structure, and there wasn't a plan for how to handle problems within the meeting. The family wasn't on the same page with communication. Everyone was just doing manipulation. So then it turned into a family fight. So when I started doing foster care, treatment foster care for troubled teens in my home many years ago, we decided we were going to have family meetings as well. In fact, it was recommended by the agency that I was working for that we do have family meetings. So we decided to be as deliberate as possible about how we were going to run our family meetings so that our children, the foster children, and our little ones that were upcoming would have a better experience. To be honest, I was a little bit nervous it wasn't going to turn out right, but it did. So let's talk about what happened. Before I get to how to carry out an effective family meeting, click that subscribe button. There are so many useful videos on this channel about family meetings, and there are more to come, as well as other things that your family might need in order to be self-governing and to create a spirit of unity at your house. So these troubled teens were in my home. They all came from different backgrounds. Most of them came from homes where the communication was not very functional. And so they didn't know how to talk calmly about their problems. They also didn't know that they could take an interest in what happened and even control what happened in the family. We wanted them to take ownership of their own behaviors, so we wanted to have open discussion with them that they could invest in. Now, this is the beautiful part of the family meetings. So once you've determined where your family's headed, what type of relationships you want to have, you've got to have this time where you improve the bonds and relationships so you actually get there. It's the time to check up on the family's progress. So we started having family meetings with the following format. And just so you know, I have a family meeting journal that has all of the forms in it to run and carry out really good family meetings. But I'm going to talk about some of those key elements on the form now. The first rule of a family meeting is that it can't go on forever and ever. So there is a principle about lecturing. You go longer than 30 seconds, a lot of people turn it off, especially children, especially if it's a lecture. So if someone's prepared to learn from you in lecture format, then then it works. But if you just start laying your lecture on another person, they immediately want to disconnect from you and they don't take it seriously, which then creates frustration for everyone and oftentimes power struggling. So if you don't want your family meeting to turn into a power struggle or a family fight, then you've got to make sure you keep your lectures to a minimum. This is not time to lay down the law. Also, you will not be as inclined to lecture in your family meeting if you keep your family meetings timed. So I have found that family meetings should take 20 minutes. In fact, I was told that by one of the people who told me about family meetings initially. They said 20 minutes is the best. I put it to the test, and sure enough, 20 minutes was the best. Anyone can sit through a meeting for 20 minutes if they know when it's going to end. If it starts to go off course, though, and it could last for who knows how long, then the anxiety starts to come in. So we decided that on our form, we would allow whoever's in charge to say, this is the time that we're beginning this meeting. We plan to end the meeting at this time, and that someone could even be a timekeeper. So that was something that we did. Now, here's another rule about the family meetings. The whole family should be invested in the family meeting, which means that they need to take turns leading the meeting. Even very small children can lead a family meeting because they can know the things to say in the family meeting, even if they can't write on the form yet. So someone could do the writing for the child while the child says the words to conduct the family meeting. At the very beginning of the family meeting, we talk about the announcements. This is the time that we do the scheduling for the family. And we talk about some of the successes or things coming up that we might be excited about. This is a time to praise members of the family and to show everyone how important they are. Now, this announcements section of the meeting should not take longer than 10 minutes. Now think, when was the last time you went through your family calendar for the week in 10 minutes? That's right, these meetings happen weekly. If they happen weekly, regularly, then the family does not have as much to talk about at one time, which makes it so that they can be shorter meetings. Also, it helps the family correct the problems quicker because there's going to be consistent checkup. If you cannot cover the family schedule in 10 minutes, then you are going to want to use one of the other meetings that I talk about in my Teaching Self-Government Parenting course, which is the couples meeting. The couples meeting can prepare the couple to get through the schedule faster because they can talk about things ahead of time so that they don't have to go through every bit of the minutia in the family meeting. That wears everybody out. After the announcement section, then comes the topics section. This is where we discuss the problems that the family is facing or upcoming activities that they may want to discuss, like where to go on a trip or what type of a humanitarian project the family might want to engage in for Christmas time that year. During this time, we start with the youngest child and then we work our way up to the parents. Each person gets an opportunity to present a topic. Everybody doesn't always have a topic. Usually you can fully cover about 3 topics in a family meeting. So if everyone doesn't have a topic, that is okay. The reason why we start with the youngest is because they have the highest level of anxiety. They want to participate, so let's just get it over with. Anyway, during this time, people present problems. They do it in a way that does not point fingers at other members of the family, and then they present solutions. They propose solutions for solving those problems. Other people in the family can also propose solutions, and then votes are taken. And the family decides what vote won. Now, if for some reason the topic is immoral or just not feasible, the parents can veto those topics, so they should let their children know that. The forms then become law for the family. So these are bits of legislation that the family makes that they have a record of. When something happens later in the week that happens to go against one of those things that was decided in a family meeting, the family can go back to that meeting as a record for what type of discussion was had about that, what options that they had, and if they want to change it the next week, then they can bring it back to the family meeting and take a new vote on that. One other thing that we need to be careful of so that our family meeting doesn't turn into a family fight is we need to prepare the family for how we will correct disagreements or attitude problems or whining, different behavior problems that can occur in a family meeting should they happen. So this comes into your greater parenting plan. In your greater parenting plan, you should have skills in place for the children, skills in place for yourselves as well, and you would tell the family which one of those skills that you would be using at a time when somebody chooses to have a behavior problem during a family meeting. Then you just have to consistently follow through. If a person goes completely out of control and is creating a very big disturbance, then you might need to have the family meeting postponed and come back into order after the person has become calm again. But we don't want people's attitudes to throw the meeting off course, so use that as a last resort. Is this interesting to you? Well, I have a lot more to offer. In fact, I have an entire course called the Teaching Self-Government Parenting course, and you can find that course on my website, which is teachingselfgovernment.com. Go to that website and you will find skills and principles for correcting some of the most difficult parenting problems that you can face. They have been tried and tested. Parents all over the world using these skills to help improve their own self-government and the self-government of their children. The family meeting is just one of the many pieces that you will need to make a family culture that supports and encourages self-government.